front pages of the newspapers to the front of your television screens, we bring you captivating stories separating the noise from the facts, giving stories that states what's happening in the community, whether for you or for me. It happens right here. This is The Headliner, and my name is Kim Sabanda. Today, we will bring you a very saddening story, one that concerns many of the public, a concerning story about road accidents involving commuter omnibuses right here in Zimbabwe, with the frequent reports of fatalities and injuries due to reckless driving, road unworthiness of vehicles, and the disregard for traffic regulations. Now, the recent traffic accident that happened at Dzivarasekwa turnoff along the Harare-Bulawayo highway, where 7 people lost their lives and 8 others were injured. And once again, this highlights the safety on the road, especially with public transport. Eyewitnesses suggest that the Kombi driver may have been attempting to pick up another passenger when the vehicle was struck by a haulage truck, leading to that deadly collision. Recklessness may be. The incident follows a similar accident that happened in November last year at KwaZulu turnoff, where another commuter omnibus crushed a fuel tanker, also claiming 7 lives. Now, these recurring tragedies have sparked a public outcry where many are questioning the practices of many Kombi app operators. Concerns have been raised about some licensed drivers allowing unlicensed individuals to train while on the jobs and especially carrying passengers. Now, the roadworthiness of Kombis is also in question, and whether profit motives are prioritized against the lives of many using public transport. In light of these concerns, this week, from representatives of the Commuter Omnibus Association, we have asked a guest to come in to understand exactly what is going on the ground, the challenges and the measures that they are taking for the safety and accountability of many that use public transport. Today with me in studio, I am joined by Mr. Kachairo. How are you? And welcome to The Headliner.
I'm okay. How are you, Kim?
Mr. Kachairo, all these concerns about accountability and the responsible behavior of commuter omnibuses, what is your contribution, or what are your thoughts to these issues?
Yeah, first and foremost, I would like to pass our sincere condolences to the families of the deceased and wish a speedy recovery to the passengers who were injured in that particular Kombi and in many other accidents that are happening around the country. I think this incident is a wake-up call, especially for this particular site where everyone needs to play their role. The city fathers, the authorities, the operators, the drivers, and the other drivers that were involved, like the truck drivers. We all need to play a role to ensure that we avoid such avoidable accidents. From the city fathers' side, we need to see what needs to be done to reduce accidents on that particular site. Things like construction of a roundabout, because we know that traffic light most of the time is not working. We are not condoning the behavior of the driver who tried to reverse and pick up passengers, but we want to make sure that more accidents are prevented at that particular site.
There you have it. More accidents should be prevented, and there should be more that is happening. I do have Mr. Kachairo in studio, and we will be delving more into this. But in the meantime, we are taking a look at more of the headlines that are happening across the country. To kickstart the news, buzzing and moving is the proudest moment that we've had in a long time, and that is one of our own. Our Minister of Sports has done it for all of us. She is the 10th president of the International Olympic Committee. Now, the 41-year-old Zimbabwean was chosen in a secret ballot of 7 candidates at the 140th International Olympic Committee for the 8th year of term in office. And to add to that celebration, the Warriors drew 2-2 with Benin. And we'll be taking more of the look at that with Ntembenkosi Mangena a little later. Moving on to the Herald, the reports that the Financial Intelligence Unit, FIU, is expanding operations to cities and towns outside of Harare to consolidate the stability of the Zimbabwe gold ZIG and to ensure that nationwide compliance with the currency exchange regulations. Now, this move aims to stabilize the economy and curb inflationary pressures. Lastly, H Metro reports on the tragic incident of the couple who died at Zivarashe. Lastly, H Metro reports on the tragic incident of the couple who died at Dzivarasekwa horror crash. We'll hear more from the Kombi associates while we take a look at more stories. We'll be back right after the break. Welcome back to the second segment of The Headliner. My name is Kim Sibanda, and of course we're coming back to that very important issue involving Kombi's Welcome back to the second segment. My name is Kim Sibanda, and this is The Headliner. Now, we are talking about that issue that is so important, about accidents on the roads and the conduct of public transport operators. Now, we do have in studio, of course, Mr. Kachairo, and we are coming back to you. Let's get into it. Now, there's growing concerns that some Kombi drivers on the road are either unlicensed or still training, and yet they are carrying passengers. How common is this practice, and what are the measures that the associations are putting in place to make sure it doesn't happen?
Yeah, it's a common practice. I think it has been in the public domain that out of about 15,000 Kombis in Harare, only about 3,500 or less are registered, are operating legally. So what it means is that almost 12,000, 11,000 or so Kombis are operating illegally. What it also means is that most of those are operating outside of policy, where the Ministry of Transport has pronounced that all Kombi operators need to operate from an association of choice. So we need to look at that issue and ensure that all the Kombis are operating legally and are also operating within associations, because the role of associations is to self-regulate, is to self-educate, self-motivate, and self-discipline. Where a member has gone wrong, associations, before the authorities come in, associations take measures, and that will lessen this kind of accidents, because when you are coming to an association, we require that you have all your working papers for the Kombi and also for the driver. So it's quite rare that you see a Kombi driver or a Kombi without papers and it's in an association, because we self-regulate. So we need to do more of that.
I just wanted to interject on that one. You have said 3,500 Kombis are registered,
yes,
but you say there's almost 12,000
yes,
that are on the roads. What are associations doing to make sure that those odd 9,000 that are outside of associations come into the associations? Is there anything that can be done along with law enforcement officers?
Yeah, first and foremost, we have been clamoring for the introduction of a law, not a policy, that requires everyone to operate within an association. At the moment, the hindering factor is the absence of a statutory instrument or an act of parliament that ensures that an operator is in an association. We have that for the legal fraternity, we have that for accountants, we have that for estate agents. We also need it for operators, because as operators, we are there to save lives. So we need to see that effort coming from the side of government. And fortunately, the Minister of Transport has taken the first step and introduced it as a policy, but we need to go further and have it as a statutory instrument and act of parliament. As operators, we can only encourage our colleagues, our fellow operators who are outside associations to say this is what is good for associations. You self-regulate, you educate each other, and you always try to preserve lives as associations. So if you operate from within associations, we can work together for the good.
I like the fact that you've said that you are self-regulating and you are teaching each other in these associations. But let's take a look at the roadworthiness of combis. Yet many of these unroadworthy combis continue to ferry passengers. How do these vehicles pass for inspections? How do you take accountability? And how do we know that these are roadworthy before I board a combi?
Yeah. Before you board a combi, as a passenger, you can check on the screen a roadworthy combi. It has got a certificate of fitness, it has an expiry date, it has the registration number of the vehicle, it also has a passenger insurance which has an expiry date as well. It also has a Resinara license which allows it to be operating on the road. So those papers, the passengers must be aware of those. They are clearly displayed on the screen. The same for the driver. The driver's license, the defensive license, and his medical to show his fitness to drive is also displayed on the vehicle. It's a requirement of law that these documents are displayed. So we need to ensure those documents are there, and as passengers we need to look at those documents before we board the vehicle. Even the outlook of the vehicle, the tires of the vehicle, you can check the tires and you can see the tires have treads or they've got wires protruding outside. So why do you risk yourself as a passenger to get into such a vehicle?
There is a little bit of responsibility that we, the public, also have to take into account. But let's take into account behaviors on the roads and some of the recklessness we are seeing out there. Now, eyewitnesses have said that this combi driver was reversing to pick up a passenger. And while doing that, we're looking at combis that are running red robots, they are overloading, they are speeding, they're even exercising some road rage that may cause accidents. What is your association doing and other association doing towards that?
Yeah, it's very unfortunate and very sad that the combi was actually being driven by a conductor according to the reports. He was actually going to give the combi to the actual driver. So as associations, we are discouraging and we are urging our operators to ensure that at all times their combis are being driven by qualified drivers. Driver who is 25 years and above, and recently there's a law that the driver has to be 30 years, he's got 5 years experience, he's got his defensive driving. All those things, as operator, before you give your vehicle to the driver, you need to ensure he has got those qualifications.
All right. As an association, you're talking about drivers and their assistants, but one would want to know, as associations, are you looking into even the combi driver, the owners of the combis? What are you doing about them? The roadworthiness of this combi, are they accountable to the condition? Are they accountable to who they employ once situations like this have happened?
Yeah, from our side as associations, we are, as we register members, we look at those things. We first check whether that vehicle went through the VID to get a certificate of fitness. We also check if the operator obtained a passenger insurance from the insurance company's ICZ, so that when these things then happen, the accident, when it happens, quite unfortunate as it is, we will need to ensure that passengers are treated, the medical bills are catered for. That's the duty of the passenger insurance. Also, in terms of the fitness of the vehicle, it also prevents some of the accidents, because
but are the owners being taken into account when these things happen, or is it solely on the driver? Because for a combi to be unworthy, it is the owner that must look at it.
Yes.
For the driver to be underage, it is an employment situation that has happened by the owner. Are you looking into that? Yeah,
we do look at that, but unfortunately, it also goes to law enforcement. When such thing happens, or when a driver who is not qualified is on the wheel, it is the duty of the law enforcers to ensure that the law has taken its course on the driver and the operator. So the operator is accountable through the law enforcement.
The Devarasekwa turn-off, like the Kuadzana accident, as well as other hotspots, it's repeated accidents, one after the other. What are some of the suggestions you may have to help curb or control these situations?
Yeah, as I alluded to earlier on, if you look at the particular scene, Pamagetsi Kwadzana Dzaresekwa Junction, we actually need to relook at the setup. Traffic lights are always not working there. Maybe the best thing that needs to happen there is to put a roundabout. It slows down traffic, because these accidents are mainly because of the trucks and the Kombi colliding, because the trucks or other vehicles in the highway are speeding, trying to beat the robot. At the same time, the Kombis or other vehicles will be trying to beat the robot into the highway. That's why there are always those crashes at that particular site. So a roundabout will quite significantly reduce these kind of accidents.
One has said there's been a study that showed that it is human error that causes most of these accidents, blind risers, not following road regulations. Do you think with some of the things that you are doing, that those are things that the associations need to reinforce?
It's quite true that 94% of our accidents are due to human error. So we need more education, more refresher courses, like the defensive driving course. It's a good refresher course for drivers, which reminds them what to do and what not to do on the roads. We need to do away with things like a retest where people are just pushed through the drums, but it's not a practical way of refreshing the way the driver should react in a particular situation of an accident. We need laws that encourage than laws that are only there to punish. We need more refresher courses, more training for our drivers, so that they are always aware and alive to live driving situations which they need to react to and prevent accidents.
All right, there you have it. More does need to be done, both by the operators themselves, the associations, as well as the authorities. A lot is happening on these roads. It's concerning, and it is something that needs to be put a spotlight on. You are on The Headliner. My name is Kim Sabanda. We'll be back right after this. Welcome back to the Editor's Choice right here on The Headliner. My name is Kim Sabanda. Now today we are brought to you one of our very own who comes from behind the scenes doing very well for ZBC News bulletins and stories. This is Tembi Nkosi Mangena. How are you doing, Tembi?
I'm very well, and you?
I'm fantastic. So I know you've been encountering a lot of stories out there, hot stories. What have you brought for us today?
Yeah, there are lots of stories that have been happening,
Yes.
And probably the major highlights of the week include the accident which happened on Wednesday. And it claimed about 8 lives and left 11 injured in Devarasekwa here in Harare. Of course, there are many other stories. For example, the Warriors played Benin yesterday in a World Cup qualifier. Of course, they missed out.
My heart was racing in the first 20 minutes. I had gone home.
But we managed to claw back.
Yes.
And our captain, Imasha Munetsi, who plies this trade to Wolverhampton Wanderers in the UK, is the one who opened the scoring for us, pulling one back. And then our former captain, James Sona, came in as well and managed to grab an equalizer. Of course, we missed a lot of chances afterwards. We could have won that match, but it was not the day for us. And we hope that we are going to continue on a better path. Of course, with Michael Nice as our coach. Our next game for the Warriors is on Tuesday next week, and we are playing Nigeria away in Uyo. So we just hope that we're going to get that positive result that puts our World Cup campaign back in track.
Do you think this game was a great practice for the Warriors, considering that Nigeria does come in a lot stronger than most African teams?
Yeah, it was a great game for us. Of course, we don't have to take anything away from Benin. They are a good side. They're actually top of the group, Group C, with 8 points from 5 games. We are bottom with 3 points. Nigeria are no pushovers, of course, traditionally, but you never know. Benin can actually pull a shocker and top that group and qualify for the World Cup. So we are not going to underrate Nigeria. We know they are big side, they have big players playing the trade in Europe. And the game against Benin gave us an opportunity to assess ourselves, and probably we are going to match the Nigerians on Tuesday.
Oh, fantastic. And the next story that you have for us today, the sad one. What are you thinking in terms of what happened? Do you think authorities can do something about it? And what are some of the policies that can be put in place, perhaps?
Of course, it's all about law enforcement. The accident which happened on Wednesday, it came as a shocker, but it's all about law enforcement. Just because, according to the police, there's confirmation that the driver of that commuter omnibus was not licensed, and also there are also indications that those are the guys who are given commuter omnibus to drive and pick up people. Actually, the driver was said to be reversing at a undesignated point where he wanted to pick up a passenger. So it's all about law enforcement.
Law enforcement.
Yes.
Here's a story that is the most exciting one. I can't wait for this one.
Right. The most exciting story is about our own Dr. Kest Coventry, our Minister of Youth, Sports, Recreation here in Zimbabwe. So we are actually happy. Of course, you as women.
It's Women's Month. I am almost standing in my seat and hoping that somebody else will stand with me. Congratulations to her.
Yeah. So she's an inspiring woman for all of us, especially given that she is the first woman to win the presidency of the IOC, which is the International Olympic Committee. She's also the youngest at 41. She's also the first African, the first African actually to land that post. And it was actually impressive in terms of how she won. The voting happened yesterday in Greece, and she managed about 49 votes out of 97.
Wow.
Just how impressive it is.
Yes.
Just to show how the world has faith in women, has faith in Zimbabweans, has faith in Africans in leadership positions. So we are actually happy for one of our own, who is Kest Coventry. And another thing is that this is a woman of records. A woman of records. She's a former swimmer and a 7-time Olympics medalist, the best in Africa. No one has ever got 7 medals at the Olympics. So from a career spanning for nearly 2 decades, she participated in 5 Olympics, starting with Sydney 2000, and then just after the Rio in 2016. Wow. So you can actually see how impressive she was, and the CV actually, I think it is the one which made her to land that influential post in the world of sport.
And of course, it's a winning streak all the way in Women's Month. Not only is she a woman, but she is an African. Not only is she an African, but definitely proudly Zimbabwean. A mighty congratulations going out to our Minister of Sports, that is Kest Coventry, who's done us well at the IOC. Also, a hearty congratulations to the Warriors for saving us at that draw of 2-2. And for the operators on the roads, please do mind us on the roads. Until next time. My name is Kim Sabanda. This is The Headliner.